USA, Austin. It is September 11th. Maybe remember those who lost their lives on that day and, of course, support their families. But we got a bunch of college football. We got soccer firing up. Ronaldo just scored the only goal of the first half. Bad day for the soccer is boring folks. But 20-plus games to go. You were, 14-8 last week? And would have been 14-4 if we just didn't pick those last four games. How you doing, man?
Doing good, yeah. First week, good for the picks that we make on here. Good for the over at Elite Sports Betting. Went 4-2, so I have 8 or 9 plays this week, locked and loaded. Tons of line movement our way. So head over to EliteSportsBetting.com early in the week. I posted my plays on Tuesday. I seriously think every line but 2 have moved my way. So head over there and get in early. That's the key to winning in this market. So.
As Austin said, that's how you stay profitable long-term. Obviously, we're trying to pick games, give you winners here, as we did, both over 500 last week, but you were the only one that was profitable if you're taking into account the juice. I'm going to get you one of these weeks, Austin. I know I'm going to. It's a long season. We got a ton of games to get to. Before we get to that, make sure you head over to Betcha, playbetcha.io, I believe is the website. You can download the app. Super easy to use. Tons of props on there to pick from. You're basically parlaying props. It's as simple as this, guys. You can go to different books and see where the line is off and then take the other side. Betcha gives us some soft lines. Siege and Jesse have been hammering the F1. We got pro NFL coming up tomorrow, college football today. Use code ELITE for, I believe it's 100% match, if I'm not mistaken, Austin.
Up to 100, yep.
Up to 100. So get your deposit in, use code ELITE for some free cash, and then take some of these plays, parlay them into some more money. You ready to get going, Austin?
Let's do it.
We got to start. We got to start in Columbus. Oregon heads to Ohio State. Certainly have many questions about the quarterback, C.J. Stroud, but I think Thibodeau is at best like playing hurt, sprained ankle, but most likely out for the game. Coach said he was day-to-day. Stroud looked rattled in the pocket to me, and that was clean pockets all last week, of course, in their win over Minnesota. So I think he has a little pressure in his face. I'm a little worried about him. Could melt down. Big test for the youngster. I think both teams end up scoring here, so I'm going over 63.5.
Yeah, Thibodeau, he's doubtful. He's in street clothes, so it's not even doubtful anymore. He's done. I'm looking right now at the report. So
good.
That's yeah, that was probably the one concern for Ohio State was if he could, dominate and kind of make Stroud, run out of not have a time play to develop there. I struggled there. I might have had a stroke there. I don't know. But the issue with Stroud was just like the second quarter. Like I think we're kind of overreacting a little bit. Like the second half was fantastic. Now there's a problem. I don't know if Oregon's the team to do it. There's a problem if Ohio State needs to throw the ball down the field. He didn't complete a pass that went over 10 yards in the air, but between the run game, their offensive line is great. Between the run game and the extension of the run game that they use in the pass, the quick passes out to the flats, they're just lethal. So I do think Ohio State kind of wins this game, but because of the defense and the issues they have, definitely in the secondary, Ohio State's pass rush should be good, but I think their secondary still struggles. I'm going Oregon plus 14.5. Backdoor I'm hoping for here. I just think this is a slight overreaction to the Thibodeau news here, and hopefully Oregon can backdoor it here.
To be honest, I had Ohio State, went Oregon, and then said, screw it, I'm going over. I have no idea, so let's just go over. Let's talk about Florida heads to South Florida. South Florida stinks. That's my analysis. Yeah. I'm going Florida to cover this number.
Yeah, South Florida had probably the worst. The ACC has had the worst start to the season ever. I can't remember the last time a Power 5 season started so bad. Their top 3 teams all lost. They all looked horrible on at least one side of the ball. I know Miami played Alabama, so a little unfair there. But South Florida looked worse than any team that the ACC has put out there. So I'm going under. Florida's offense looked like it was kind of still kind of trying to work through some things. They have Alabama next week. I think they're just getting through today, trying to stay healthy. Under 58.5 for me in this one.
Per usual, I like your bet better than mine. Yeah, South Florida gets shut out last week. Maybe doesn't get on the board here again. How about Jack Cohn playing a near perfect game and Notre Dame still almost losing? Hell of a letdown spot here. But Toledo, I think, can put out some points on this Notre Dame defense. I'm going over again.
Yeah, the Notre Dame defense was kind of interesting. Memphis head coach Norvell, when he was at Memphis, they were big plays everywhere. That's kind of what Florida State was. So I think Florida State is a little bit better than what we thought. The bulldozing Tallahassee jokes might not be as funny going forward here, but I like Toledo in this one. Notre Dame couldn't run the ball all that well. Toledo took care of Norfolk State. I know that's not anything, but like when you crush a bad team, like that's a good thing, right? Like if you're not crushing a bad team is where you get worried here. 17 seems like a lot. I know Notre Dame might want to come out and kind of have a better finish to this game, but they had a lot of worries. They got Wisconsin next week. Again, Toledo, the back door's going to be wide open this one. I'll take them plus 17.
UGA and UAB. I got UGA winning this game 31-10, which if my math is correct, that's an under 44.
Yeah, I'm with you. This was one of my plays early in the week. I had 45.5. This is down to 44. JT Daniels is not going today. He's been apparently playing with an oblique injury. I'm mad because Georgia fans are all over me in that his offense, and now they're going to have that as a reason to get out. Yeah. Their pass catchers are still kind of banged up, got question marks. They don't really play anybody good for a while, so I think they just kind of try to get healthy here. UAB's defense, sneaky, kind of good. I think this game goes under as well, so I'm going under 44.
Both of us on the under there. How about Texas A&M and that run-heavy attack? I actually consider the under here in this game against Colorado, but there's just something about that big-ass Buffalo running in that bowl of a stadium that gets me turned up, man. Tugs at the heartstrings. I'm going with the Buffaloes, Colorado plus 17.
Yeah, this game I didn't really have a huge opinion on. One of those ones that was tough to pick. Texas A&M, big number on the road. I know Colorado kind of struggled with Northern Colorado for a little bit, maybe a little bit of overreaction here. Colorado plus 17.
Cincinnati, 35.5-point home favorites here for Murray State. I actually had to wait very late in the week here just to get a damn line, but what am I missing here? Like early last year, Murray State, or they played a little school called Austin Peay. Austin Peay put up 20 on the Cincinnati team. I have Cincy potentially covering, but I think both teams score. I'm going over 51.5.
Yeah, 51.5. Here's the thing with Cincinnati. I had a bunch of Cincinnati fans mad at me this week because I didn't think they had a very high chance at the playoff this year. Just because, again, it's just literally because they're not in the Power 5 conference. Until the committee starts to respect that, that's what it is. But Cincinnati, because they're ranked high enough this year, they play at Indiana. I know Indiana looked kind of rough in week one. That win make it hit. They play at Notre Dame. Those games are coming this week. I think they might be kind of just overlooking this one. Murray State gets some points. 51.5 is very easy to get here because Cincinnati needs to win by a lot. They can't have like a 15-point win over Murray State if they have playoff aspirations. So Cincinnati's going to put up points. I think Murray State can get through too as well. Over.
Over. Let's go. A couple overs there. Ball State heads to Penn State, obviously coming off that big win against Wisconsin last week. The defense really showed out. That's really what I'm leaning on here. You look at the implied totals for each team. You're thinking Ball State's going to score. I don't know. I'm going Penn State.
Yeah, I'm going under. It's just kind of tough. Ball State struggled to score against Western Illinois last week. This game against Western Illinois, they had a total of 52. They scored 31. I don't see them scoring a lot today. Penn State offense, you might be thinking, they try to get back on track. They have Auburn next week. That's a huge game since they won Wisconsin. They have playoff aspirations on their mind. Might be a little bit of a look-ahead spot here. I think Penn State takes care of it today, probably wins by like 24, might even win by 28. We know James Franklin likes to put the little punch at the end of games here, but I think it stays under. I don't think Ball State has much success on offense, so under 58.
The biggest line of the day, Bama minus 55 takes on Mercer here at home. Army beat Mercer 49-3 last year. This is going to be an absolute massacre, but certainly, we're talking, starters out at halftime. It's going to be kind of is what it is. Bama scored 55 or more points 3 times last year. That's against Ole Miss, Kentucky, and LSU. They also just spanked a couple teams in 2019. It sounds like the old ball coach is a little pissed off there, old Nick. So I'm going over the points. Could be all Alabama, but if I get a touchdown out of Mercer, I love this over.
Yeah, Nick Saban wasn't too happy with the second half performance in that game, and that he said in his press conference on Monday they came out sluggish to practice, saying they're getting too full of themselves, and then it was super hot in Bama. I feel bad for Mercer in this one. 59.5 again. I don't know if you can get a touchdown out of Mercer. I think this hits, but I don't know if you get it. But I'm going over 59.5. I think Alabama really tries to score.
Yeah, I mean, I'm banking on like a late fourth quarter touchdown to Adam.
You hope you hope there's like a fumble and they get a field goal and then they get a touchdown the last drive of the game. Boom.
Yeah.
Over like for a 53-10 type of win or something like that.
I can't even bank on like the third stringer sucking because it's probably still a 5-star for Bama. But anyways, let's move to the Corn Bowl is what I'm dubbing it. Iowa heads to Iowa State. Iowa State a 4.5-point home favorite here. Iowa relatively impressive last week. 46.5 total seems like a lot for these two teams. I'm going under. What about you?
Oh, yeah, I'm going with Iowa. This, week 2 is usually overreactions. I talked about that earlier this week on the opening line with Frank. I think this is a slight overreaction to the line. We'll get into a game later in the slate here that is a bigger overreaction. But this game was like 6 before last week, and then Iowa State, obviously, they struggled to even beat Northern Iowa. They won by 6, and then Iowa obviously kind of dismantled Indiana. But Iowa, that offense, their defense, I think, is fantastic. I think Iowa State really struggles to score today. I lean to the under, but I'm going Iowa here. I think the Iowa State Matt Campbell hype, they're just not quite there. I'm going Iowa plus 4.5 here.
See, one of the things you guys will find if you're new to this show is we're often on the same game flow, same side of things, but Austin finds the edge and makes a hell of a lot more sense. We've had that. This is the third time we've been basically saying the same thing, but had different picks there. Now let's talk about South Carolina State at Clemson. So originally when I'm capping this game, I'm like, all right, South Carolina might be able to give them a little game here. South Carolina State. And that's when I said anything less than 50, I fire. They're pretty damn close. 49 points is the spread here. 56.5 on the total. I'm taking Clemson to cover the number.
Yeah, Clemson, obviously, that offense last week, Georgia's defensive line just looked incredible. I talked about last week that Clemson's offensive line is kind of the weakness they have, and we saw that. And I don't think they struggled today with South Carolina State. There's a reason this line's 49. Again, it's kind of like the Bama game. You just kind of hope you get 7 or 10 from South Carolina State. I don't know if they can because Clemson's defense is really good, but I do think there's a potential that Clemson goes over 56.5 themselves. I think they kind of need to prove that they're still a good team after that showing last week. So I'm taking the over 56.5.
Love it. Love that for my Clemson bet as well. Once again, kind of on the same thing, but different picks.
Right.
How about Oklahoma at home against Western Carolina? Big bounce back spot here for Oklahoma. By the way, we talked about that Mercer team sucking balls. They killed the Catamounts last year. Killed them. Just kidding. Catamounts killed Mercer. That's why I'm on them today. I'll take the 49.5 points, 64.5 on the total. It does say that Western Carolina is going to score some points anyway. Look, if they can beat the likes of Mercer, they can certainly take on the likes of Oklahoma. So I like the Catamounts and the points.
Yeah, I mean, it's a streak of overs. This is going to be 3 out of 4. I'm playing over at 64.5. Oklahoma, like people look last week in the close game with Tulane. Tulane kind of has a tough offense to kind of game plan for. They kind of have a weird, just not the typical offense you see. So I'm not surprised they scored points. I didn't think Oklahoma's defense played all that bad, considering I didn't expect too much from Oklahoma's defense. The offense is what surprised me. They struggled on offense. Yeah. I think they try to get back on track, kind of similar to Clemson here. Again, over 64.5. I think Oklahoma wants to score here. I could see them getting into the 50s themselves. Obviously, they're 49.5 point favorites. I just need like 2 scores from Western Carolina. I just need 2 scores from all these bad teams.
That's all we're hoping for, right? Give me 14 points. I'm feeling good about my Catamounts here. Similar almost to Ohio State, Oklahoma, with different scenarios. Obviously, young quarterback for Ohio State, experience, Heisman candidate over there in Oklahoma, but struggled early, kind of found some things late. So I'm thinking they may continue that this week, but maybe not as good as we thought. Give me some Catamount action there. Now, how about Eastern Michigan heads to Wisconsin? 52 points in a game with Wisconsin feels like a hell of a lot. Could keep the shutout, could keep the clean sheet here on Eastern Michigan. So maybe the smart money's on Wisconsin, but I'm just going under.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite here. I'm going to go over. This was in the bet pack for me this week. It's gross, but I think it's overreaction. Eastern Michigan could easily score 0 points. Wisconsin's defense broke down a lot against Penn State last week. I'm not saying that they're going to do that again this week, but I do think there's going to be points for Eastern Michigan. They play a little faster. Big thing, Wisconsin last week, they had chances to score. They fumbled twice without a Penn State player in the vicinity on the 2-yard line to take away, essentially 14 points there. I don't think that happens today. Malusi, their running back, was so close to breaking like multiple 40-yard runs. And defensive backs, I mean, credit to Penn State, their defensive backs made one-on-one tackles all game. I think big runs happen today. Wisconsin needs to kind of look a little bit better here. They go over. I know they have Notre Dame next week, but over 52. It's not hard to get there.
It's going to be under
49-0.
Look ahead week. Just get the win. 21-14. All right. How about this App State offense? Can they score points against this Miami defense? I think Miami's going to look far better than they did last week, obviously, against Alabama. Thought about just taking them in the points, but I'm going over. I think both teams scores over 54.5.
Yeah, I went over as well. This was tough. I made this like 8 and 56, so like not really much of anything here. Just didn't really. Again, it's like you said, Miami. You could kind of throw that game out. You know, everybody knew it was one of those things. Of course, I didn't bet my Bama, but like also they kind of, like Nick Saban said, kind of screwed around in the second half, and maybe Miami was going to make things close there. But I'm just going over. I think Miami looks better today. I think Derek King gets going a little bit, over 54.5.
Same. Cool. How about Texas heads to Arkansas? Texas 7-point road favorites here, 56.5 on the total. This has a feeling of a little bit of an Old West shootout to me, Austin. I said Sark can get this puppy turned around. Maybe they're doing it a little sooner than I thought. I thought it'd be next year. Looked pretty darn good last week against the Raging Cajuns, but Arkansas put up some points as well. Over 56.5 for me.
Yeah, I'm right on market in this game, so this was tough. Going a little subjective here. I'm going Texas. I kind of agree. I think they looked better than I thought last week, mainly on like defense. They shut down. Louisiana can score a little bit. They shut them down. Arkansas looked terrible last week on offense against Rice, if I remember correctly. They scored like 3 touchdowns in the last like 5 minutes.
Yeah, they're getting it together, man. It's the first game of the season. I know.
It's too much talent here. Arkansas has one of the best wide receivers in the country, so they could be a little fun here. But I think Texas covers the 7 here.
What am I missing in this next game here, Austin? Georgia State gets blown out by Army in week 1, then only gets 26 here against UNC. I know they struggled against Virginia Tech, but I think Sam Howell gets back on the Heisman track here, which is probably gone. Give me USC or UNC, excuse me. I'll eat the points.
Yeah, this line was, I mean, it opened at like 24.5. The total in this game opened at like 61. Like basically everybody was like, hey, 1 week, North Carolina can't score anymore. I think North Carolina scores a ton today. I'm not worried about it. We saw Georgia State get smoked last week, like you said. UNC scores. They need to kind of show that they can score points, because they do still have an outside shot at the playoff. But again, they need to bounce back this week. 66.5, not hard to get with the team that doesn't have a great defense and can score plenty. I'll go over 66.5.
How many points do you think Georgia State puts up today on this UNC defense?
Oh, what do I got them for? I'll go like 20. I'll go 24.
Shit, I do not like my North Carolina pick if they put up 24. I had it banked like 18-21. But yeah, okay, that makes sense. Ton of sense there. Maybe I'm missing something. How about McNeese State heads to LSU? Big bounce. Where are they playing this game, by the way? Is it in Louisiana?
I don't.
I assumed it was, but I should have checked. Anyway, obviously, LSU
it didn't matter to me.
Favorites here, 38.5, 66.5 on the total. Look, I know this isn't the LSU of a couple years ago, but is McNeese State really putting up that many points on LSU? I got a bold statement. If McNeese covers this spread, you got to fire Coach O. You got to fire. I'm going under, by the way, under the number. You got to fire Coach O if McNeese covers this.
Everybody wanted to say they were back, and I know UCLA has kind of had a nice start to the year here, but something's bad. Like, it's bad. Like, they had this year where that Joe Brady comes in and their offense is great. Joe Burrow was fantastic. That team was super talented. This team's super talented as well. They might, they don't have a guy as good as Burrow, but yeah, it's tough. I'm going over because I think it's more likely that LSU scores and their defense still struggles. That defense, they made the changes from last year. They thought they were going to be good again. That defense is not good. They were leaky all last week. This game just feels over for me. This is in Baton Rouge apparently, so they're good to play there. But I think over 66.5 we have in the pool. Yeah, 66.5 here. I'm going over.
Okay, I thought it was, but for whatever reason, I'm sitting here looking at my spreadsheet going, Anyways, let's talk about Michigan. Your boys. Is Michigan back? My answer, no.
You going with Washington?
Going with Washington. Give me the
So I'm going with Washington as well.
Okay.
I'm not super confident in this pick. I'm basically on market. I thought about playing the over, but Washington is, and this kind of like, this is the tough part, right? I had lean towards Washington, lean towards over, and Washington, like 4 of their top 5 wide receivers might be out of this game with injuries. So that both of those picks are kind of doomed. But I'm starting to wonder, and we're seeing this, like, was 2020 for some of these teams that just had huge outlier years? Was it like, should we have just thrown it out the window? Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking here. But again, overreaction. This game was Michigan -1 a week ago. I know Washington looked absolutely terrible. John Donovan's not a good offensive coordinator. I think they can kind of struggle here today, but they could score some points here on Michigan. But Michigan's offense, big plays. We'll see if the big plays happen today. Michigan might be back, but I'll go against my team. I might sacrifice this one for them to look good. I might sacrifice it, but I think Washington +7 is where the value is.
I try not to bet on Ohio State. That's why I'm just taking over on that game, because I don't want them to win and then not cover me to be pissed. That's you. You're emotionally hedging off your Wolverines. I don't hate it, but we're both on the Washington side. So lock of the week. How about Utah heads to BYU? Brewer threw for 2 touchdowns, did have the pick last week, but I'm banking on Mr. Thomas to get it done on the ground. I think this defense stiffens up and beats the Super Soakers of BYU, Utah, and lay the points.
Yeah, I'm going under. Utah kind of was slow last week. BYU wasn't really efficient on offense. I think their numbers are a little inflated. I played their over last week. Now I'm on their under. But I just numbers say this. I have this at 47, so under. I don't have much else to say about it.
Stanford, I think now can officially be called a swimming school. Definitely not a football school. Heads to USC here. USC 17-point home favors, 53.5 on the total. I'm trying my best not to overreact to Stanford's performance last week, but it was pathetic, man. I'm taking USC laying the points.
Yeah, so the weird thing about that game, if you just look at the schedule or the score, 24-7, like pretty gross. Nobody did anything. Stanford's going in a different direction with quarterback Tanner McKee is going to be going for them. He came in last week, I think 15 of 18 for like 120 yards, threw for a touchdown. Obviously, I think he's the better guy. They're going with him this week. So yeah. I think they're going to throw more. I think their defense is still bad. The crazy thing about that game last week, I'm pulling it up because I didn't have it ready. The amount of plays ran was absurd. Like Kansas State ran 45 plays. Like Stanford only ran like 54. Like it was super slow. I think McKee's coming in. They threw a ton more when McKee was in there. He was better. No turnovers. So I'm going over 53.5 here. I think there's some points. USC didn't score that much. I think this is kind of an overreaction to 2 lower scoring games. San Jose State's decent. So over 53.5.
Can UNLV get to 14 points, 2 touchdowns? That's my question. I'm going to say yes. So I have them covering the number here, getting 34 heading to Arizona State, 54.5 on the total. Give me UNLV in the points.
Yeah, this was in the bet pack for me. I bet 53.5. This is now 54.5. So I'm gonna still go with that 54.5. Just go over. Arizona State, I think they score. UNLV is terrible. This could easily be a game where Arizona State gets 55 themselves here, but I'm with you. Can UNLV get to 14 points? I hope so. Arizona State, UNLV over for me.
And the best part is you guys should be on the Discord with Austin and I, because about 12:30, we have a big number on the board, and it's like 3-0 at halftime. I'm like, well, shit, there goes that one. There goes that one. These big numbers are hard to do. How about the up-tempo Tennessee offense? Is it a blessing or a curse? I don't know. I kind of think this Tennessee offense has early success. Pittsburgh figures it out and then kind of slows them down late. But I think there's enough scoring early to go over the 56.5.
Yeah, so Joe Milton went for Tennessee last week. He started out pretty good, and then he finished like 2 of 10.
Horrible.
Yeah, like just not great. That's not going to get it done, right? Like it's obviously you just can't go 2 of 10 when you're playing in that offense. Big worry for me there because Pittsburgh's defense is much better than Bowling Green. Bowling Green's one of the worst teams in college football, and they struggled last week. I think Narduzzi, he's not a dog, so I can't go with Pittsburgh here today. But I think Pittsburgh and Tennessee, they both struggle to score in this one. I know Tennessee goes fast, so this under could get really scary because of how fast they go. But I just don't think Milton can get it done. Under 56.5 for me.
Sneaky big game here. NC State heads to Mississippi State. Tough to really gauge how good this NC State defense is. I think USF is just horrifically bad. But I'm going with NC State. Just 1 point favorites here on the road. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going NC State as well. This is my this is like my last cry out to the ACC. If NC State can't win this game, Mississippi State looked really bad last week. They could have easily lost. They came back in that one. If NC State doesn't win this game, and say if they get blown out, the ACC is just like
shut it down.
I don't know what to do. Like it's literally the worst start in a Power 5 conference history. So I think NC State, I'm with you. -1. I take it they should win this game. Not handily, but I think they should win this game.
Just 2 games left to bet of the 24 we had on the schedule here. Once again, make sure you head over to Play Betcha, code ELITE for a 100% match on your first deposit. Look, if you hold UNC to 10 points, I think you're going to be okay against Middle Tennessee State. 20 is a big number for me to lay with Virginia Tech against anyone. I'm just going to go under 54.5 here.
Yeah, a little nervous here. I'm going over. I think this is a slight overreaction to that first game. Virginia Tech, absolutely. Their defensive line and their front is going to get a bunch of pressure on Middle Tennessee State here. I don't know how they go, but I think Middle Tennessee State, their offense has been good enough in years past where I think they can, score. Again, I know this is like the common theme of these big spread games, but I think we could have a garbage score late. I think Virginia Tech's offense gets a little bit more going here. I think they should have a better time against Middle Tennessee State. I'm going over here. I think it's a slight overreaction. Maybe upper 50s in this game. A little garbage score getting in the back door here. This will be a fun one to for us in the Discord talking as we're on opposite here.
Yeah, exactly.
Final drive. It'll come. This game's 100% coming down the wire if we're going to be sweating it out.
And, of course, September 11th, had to throw this one in here. Air Force versus Navy, the Battle of the Academies here. 40.5, hilariously low total. I'm still going under, man. I almost took the home dogs in Navy, but I'm just going under. Typical slobber knocker fest between the academies here.
Yeah, I went Air Force. I'm pretty much right on here. I have a slight lean to the over. I make it like 41.5, which no thanks with these two offenses going. But man, Navy looked terrible last week. Absolutely terrible. Got smoked by Marshall. Air Force didn't exactly look great against, Lafayette. Not like we're sitting here. I'm not touting them, but 49-7 against Marshall. I think that's bad. Marshall had extra time to prepare. Air Force knows how to play the option because they run the option. I think Navy struggles to score today. And I think Air Force can kind of pull away in this one. So I'm going Air Force today on Remembering 9/11.
Yeah, the reasoning makes sense. We talked about last week the issue with the option having the whole offseason to prepare for it. But with Air Force running it, a little bit easier.
I get it every week.
Every single week. So there you go. 24 games on the Tailgate Teaser Show from Austin and myself. Several different picks there. Choose your fighter. I choose him typically. Great week last week for Austin. Okay week for me. We'll look to bounce back this week with 24 games. Any final words before we let the folks head out of here on a beautiful Saturday morning, Austin?
No, Frank and I, we gave out a couple plays on Wednesday's opening line for college football. Like I said, he's got 7 plays. I think I got 9. When I checked, I haven't checked yet this morning. 2 plays last night had gone against us in the market. So I think it was a total of 18 plays or 16 plays, whatever it was. 2 went against us. So get down early. Head over to EliteSportsBetting.com. We got football, NFL first big day tomorrow. College football is going here, and not too long. We got NBA and NHL comes back. We're back in the full swing of things. So head over to EliteSportsBetting.com. Get the lines early.
There you go. I just put my plays in Monday, forget what I bet, and then look it up on Saturday afternoon to see how I did. That's the beauty of Elite Sports Betting. So there you go. For Austin, I am Duke for EliteSportsBetting.com. And, of course, Betcha. We thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week, same time, 11 o'clock. Adios.